Welcome to my championship predictions for the 2026-27 season. First and foremost, we're going to start with the relegated sides. In bottom position, I've got Blackburn Rovers. For me, with Blackburn Rovers, they've only made 3 signings this summer, and of course, Tony Mabry's come back to the club. I don't think it looks particularly strong on paper again compared to other teams. They would have got relegated last year if it wasn't for points deductions for Leicester City and West Brom. In 23rd position, I've got Bolton Wanderers. After Valentine's Day last year, Bolton actually only won 4 more league games before they went into the playoffs. Now, in those playoffs, they were fantastic, well beating Bradford over 2 legs, and they were brilliant in that final against Stockport. I can see Bolton having quite a good start to the season. However, despite that, I don't think they have the quality in the squad to sustain it over the campaign. In 22nd position, I've got Charlton Athletic. This is obviously their second season back in the Championship, and they started last season really strong. Their home form was fantastic as well, with 9 of their 13 wins in the league coming at home. Of those 13 wins, 6 of them were by early November. So generally, I think they didn't end the season in particularly good form or their performances. I really like Nathan Jones as a manager. He's obviously a bit like Marmite, but despite that, I can see him being out the door personally if things don't start well at the Valley. Next up, we've got 16 to 21st. Now, 2 promoted sides in Cardiff and Lincoln City are in here, and they're both sides that I think, like we're going to see with probably all of these sides, they're going to have moments of the season where they're really strong and have really good runs of form, and then they're possibly going to have some really poor spells where they struggle to pick up points. It's that inconsistency at this level that is going to be the reason that they are in this position of the table, not any further up. For me, Lincoln and Cardiff are going to start the season quite strongly, a bit like I mentioned with Charlton, where they're going to pick up some points and results, and probably as the season goes on, going to find it a little bit more tough. Next up to talk about Portsmouth, obviously I've got them just above the dotted line. Now, John Messina is a manager I rate really highly, but I just think he's been linked away, and I can definitely see him leaving during this season. But at points, they were really poor last season, and they didn't really kick on like I thought they would. I can definitely see them being in that bottom 3, and obviously that worry around Messina is my main real reason for putting them where I have. Before moving on, I also wanted to mention Stoke. Every season they've been back in the Championship since 2018. They've finished between 14th and 18th. They could finish higher than this, and I don't think they'll finish any lower. I don't think they'll be in danger of relegation or anything like that. I've been a little bit harsh on Stoke and sort of gone with that usual feeling of that's where they've been finishing and not backing them to finish any higher, unfortunately. And probably if they don't start well, again, Mark Robbins, I can see leaving the club. Next up, we've got 10th to 15th. So these are sort of clubs that I would say are all aspirational for moving up higher into the table. Watford at the bottom of that are probably your biggest question mark because they're so unpredictable. Queen's Park Rangers, Glenn Kamara, I think is a fantastic signing, and I like some of the signings they've made as well. I just think the strength of the other sides above is the reason I haven't got QPR any higher. Bristol City are in a strange position where I think there's a lot of excitement, quite understandably. Don Ballard and Toloi from Plymouth have both come in as strikers who did well at League One level. Michael Skubala won League One with Lincoln City last season. There's definitely excitement around the club and they're building something, but I just think it's going to take longer than maybe people think. Whether Skubala will be given that time, I hope he is. But I've gone from 13th because I don't think they have the consistency early in the season to be able to challenge right at the top near those playoff spots. Derby County, there seems to have been a failed takeover bid, for want of a better phrase, and that doesn't seem like that's going to happen now. If they were going to be taken over, I'd have had Derby right in those playoff spots. I really like John Eustace. I might have been a touch harsh on Derby. I can see them finishing higher. I like the side. I like the consistency. But I just think without a little bit more extra investment, again, it's going to be hard to challenge some of these sides above them. From 5th down to 9th now. So I've got Burnley missing out on that playoff spot, of course, with the expanded playoffs this season. They're a mess at the moment, a bloated squad, an inexperienced manager, and now even the shirt sponsor's gone bankrupt. And I think there's so many question marks about Burnley. You could make an argument, say, squad-wise, they're good enough to be in that top 4 or 5. You could also make the argument that there's such a mess and there's so many question marks and doubts that you could have them in the bottom half. So I've sort of settled for 9th as a bit of a safe prediction, if I'm honest. Moving on into those playoff roles. So we're going to go for the 2 sides. Wrexham and Birmingham came up together. I've put them in 7th and 8th, and of course those new playoff spots for this season. Birmingham City, I think if they don't start well, Chris Davis will leave the club, and it'll be interesting what might happen if that occurs. But I think, again, they've made investment in the squad. They're very ambitious, and I would be really surprised if Birmingham aren't very close to that, at least that final playoff spot. Wrexham are obviously a very solid team, more consistency for the first time we've seen. Obviously, it's the first time under the ownership that they've stayed at the level since the National League days. So there's been consistency in the squad. Phil Parkinson's very consistent as a manager. I think they could finish higher than this, and I get why people might always write Wrexham off, but it's a very dangerous thing to do. And I could see Wrexham being that sort of side to finish in one of those final new playoff spots and make history by being promoted. For the final two spots that we're talking about, I've got Millwall in sixth and Norwich in fifth. Millwall obviously had a fantastic year last year, and it's very disappointing that they lost to Hull in the playoffs. Alex Neil's a very good manager for the level, understands the league. I think they'll have another strong season. Norwich I'm incredibly excited about. I was fortunate to watch them in person last year a couple of times, and when I finally did get to watch Philippe Clement as manager, tactically I thought Norwich were fantastic. I really like their young, exciting players. They've kept hold of them. I thought they might lose them. I think they could be really, really good this year. I'm excited to see, and I'm hoping that translates. I guess my only question mark is investment-wise, if they get to January or they have injuries, how can they replace some of those key players? Now we've got the top four. So we'll start with Southampton. Tonda Ecker, what an incredible situation with Spygate. And I think squad-wise, they're more than good enough to be in not just the top two, possibly even winning this league. I think they've got a manager that has shown last season, whatever you might think of the controversy, that he can turn a side around playing really attractive football and very dominant football and a very strong squad. However, he's going to be in an FA charge in a hearing sort of mid-September time, and I think Spygate is going to hang over the club this season. And if they have a difficult spell, whatever happens with the manager, it's hard, and I think that could potentially affect the team. I find it hard to pinpoint them because of the uncertainties and the unknowns. Next up, we've got Middlesbrough, who have got to be the only side in history that I know who have lost both a playoff semi and a playoff final all in the same season. I sort of thought that would galvanise them, and it just didn't happen. They had a really poor end to the season. Despite that, I really like Kim Hellberg. I think he's one of the most exciting managers, if not the most exciting manager in the league. They desperately needed a striker, which they've got in Will Lancashire. And if he goes and hits 20 plus goals this season, which is what Middlesbrough missed, they will be right close to those automatic promotion spots. I think Wolves have got some new exciting additions in the sense of even experienced players like Kieran Trippier and Raul Jimenez coming back to the club. And I still think they have a really strong squad. And if the manager can get that to click, then they could do really well this season. And for my winner of the championship for this season, I've gone for West Ham United. For me, keeping Jarrod Bowen is such a massive, massive deal. He's going to be fantastic at their level, surely. They've also kept some really other key players in Castellanos. Nuno obviously should be very good at this level. He's done it before with Wolves. Even if his style of play isn't for everyone, they had less possession than Portsmouth. They were 1-0 down. It feels like they almost swatted them away in that quality with Castellanos and Bowen up top. I still think they probably need some more additions, and if they did lose some of those key players, I'd be concerned about West Ham. The quality they've got is more than anyone else has got in the league. So as long as they can keep them and keep them fresh, then I think West Ham will win the league this season. They're my championship predictions for the 26-27 season. If you disagree, let me know in the comments. I've not been able to talk about every club, so if there's anything you'd like to hear my thoughts on, let me know. I can do a follow-up video. So if you've enjoyed, please like and follow, and check out my other videos on the channel.